Good morning, everybody. Good to see you.
Good morning. Morning.
Steve's back with us today, and we'll get a little more in depth with what he's working on. But before that, Jerry, why don't you let us know who's here? I saw some new names in there, and Chuck's here this morning. Good to see you, Chuck. Hope you're doing well, my friend.
I hear some replay. Who's got YouTube going? Oh, me. Sorry.
It's Jerry backing up. That's what it was.
Usually I don't have it on the other place. Good morning.
Good morning.
We have Grandpa Burrell, Lynn McCurdy, Chuck CDP. Good to see you, Chuck. Steve Sherrill, Al Marr, Digger Evans, Rob T-Man, Paul. I don't know how to pronounce that. Steve Childers. Who else? Who did you see next?
Pappy's here this morning. Good to see you, Pappy.
Hey, Jerry. Are you a moderator on the YouTube chat?
Me?
Have we made him a moderator in the YouTube chat? Because you can go up to where it says live chat. You can hit the three buttons and then hit the participants button, and it will give a list of every participant, and you don't have to search for them in the moving chat.
Oh, that's great. Container Man, Dave DES, Dave DMSF, Floyd Robbins, Charles Stewart, Jeff Thornton. This is a lot easier. Joe Rader, CB&Q, Mark, and Try Goggling Pappy. Good morning, everybody.
Good morning. Yeah, that's a lot easier, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah. So anyway, we're talking with Steve, and I'm not going to try and pronounce your last name.
Yo, pronounce your last name for us, Steve, so we know.
Well, on my Facebook, it's Trevor Thick, but it's not my real name. So.
Okay, I understand.
Keep the bomb threats away. I see. Okay.
Yeah.
It's Steve.
Probably smart. Smart. Smarter than me.
Yeah. It's not for any dodgy reasons. It's just for I have other businesses online, and I kind of keep my real.
Okay, so Dennis, you said you had questions for him.
Okay, so what Jerry and I were talking about this morning is there's probably a certain amount of ignorance on a lot of us who build a model railroad and then we try and put it into operations, and we have an idea of how things should work. Maybe they don't actually work that way in the real world. So one of the things that I run into, and I've mentioned it on the Facebook channel already, or the Facebook group, is the ability to sort the car cards in the digital realm to match the standing order of the train, so that when I go to classify cars in the yard, I can actually be looking in one place in my case, I use an iPad. The last car card in the iPad represents the last car in the train. And so I'm not constantly having to search, okay, I've got flat car 399. I have to scroll, okay, nope, there it is.
Yep.
Where I already know the very next car that I'm going, or next three cars, or however many it is, will be in the correct standing order to put onto the classification track that I need.
Yeah.
So my question then is that a thing in the real world? You know, does the real railroad have a list of the standing order of their train when they go out on the rails, or are they literally searching for cars in the middle of their train with their paperwork?
Yeah, I mean, when you have if you operate switchless, what the switch list will give you is a list of operations that you need to do on your journey, and that isn't specifically the order that your consist is in, right? So you would operate that as, yeah, you're right. If you need to find a car, especially if you're doing drill jobs in a classification yard, you have to find the car that you're about to drill in the list and find out what track you're going to assign that to. Now,
define drill for us real quick, just in case there's people. I think I know what you mean by drill.
It's classifying. So you have a long consist, and what you usually do is you have your loco on the head end, and you drill towards the tail end. So you're pushing each car into a specific track, and that's called classifying. The job that you're doing is called a yard drill job. But what you're doing is basically taking each car and classifying them into a block train. So whether there's one going eastbound, there's one going westbound, one might be a local, one might be an express through, and you're basically classifying them into the specific consists that are then going to be taken out. Now, when we actually do that at our club layout, there's actually several ways you can do it with physical cards. So you've got a deck of cards with you, which corresponds to all the cards you've got in your consist. And you can go through and you can fan them out and you can find the car that you've got at the back. And what I do is while I'm pushing that in, because you're only going at like 2 miles an hour, while I'm pushing that in, I'm looking for the next car, saying, right, is that going to go to the same track? In which case I'll keep going and push the next car in as well. And that's how I do it. Others actually sort their cards so they're in order. And then you can quickly find what you need to do. Some people actually use little chips that go on top of the roofs. So you can 3D print little chips. And so like, you basically little blocks of plastic with maybe some embossed letters on it saying, this is for this track. And
yeah,
what you do is
I've seen it, but it's not for me. That's for sure.
No, it's not prototypical, but it does make the job a lot easier. And in fact, it can simulate prototypical operations because they used to use chalk and they used to write on the side of the box cars themselves what track that would be going to. So it kind of simulates that. But yeah, each to their own. But yeah, but in train waybills specifically, the cars are in order of their destination. So where, the specific spot that they're going to. I did, when I set up the database for this, I did include a spot to allow them to be reorganized in your consist. So it's prepared and future-proofed for that. It's just not on this release that's happened, but that will be a future feature that's going to come out.
Okay, so repeat that again. I want to make sure I heard it correctly.
So where you've got your list of the cars in your consist, in the future, what's going to happen is you're going to be able to drag them into different positions in your thing, so you can reorganize them. But you have to remember is when you're picking up cars, that's not necessary. You don't have to do that because you're always looking for cars in your consist. That may only be available when you're at the classification yard. Yeah. So you can reorganize them ready for doing your drill job. Yeah.
Yeah. See, in my example that Jerry and I were talking about, my west staging yard, it's not really, I didn't design it to drill. So if a train parks there, I park my consist in the west staging yard, waybills will repopulate as necessary.
Yep.
And then when you leave with that entire train, the destination of a car is going to change because the waybills change. So when I hit frying pan, where I will classify the cards, that's when it becomes for me. And again, I don't know that I've done anything prototypically, but for me, that's when I would like to be able to go, okay, here's the standing order of the train.
Yeah.
And it's not that big of a deal, right? It's really not. It's just one of those things that I do see a slight advantage with the paper cards if you could stack them in the standing order of the train. But so far, that's the only thing I see that might be
like I say, that is something I've taken from the physical car card system, and I've future-proofed the digital one for that. I just haven't done the function to do that. So all I have to do is work on the function, and that will happen. And this is the beauty of what I've created, is that I can add things like that later. It doesn't have to, it works as is, and by adding that, it's not going to break anything that I've already put on.
And you won't have to reinvent the whole thing in a new download, blah, blah.
Right.
You will be able to push that update, and it will be seamless,
instant
for those of us who are already on the site.
Right.
Yeah, this is awesome.
Yeah, you don't have to, like, for instance, like you say, you don't have to reinstall software. You don't have to worry about it corrupting, because I'm going to alpha test it way before I push it out. I'm going to beta test it as well. And it will only go out once it's been thoroughly tested. Now, it doesn't mean it's going to be free of bugs, because such is life. You test everything on your own, but when you push it out and you get, 30 people using it, they might find something slightly different. In fact, I've found some bugs from the original system, which I fixed on the way. I actually only found one yesterday. Was it yesterday or the day before? And I think you said that sometimes it doesn't actually organize in destination order. And I was like, but
I have experienced
that it should. Now, I wasn't having that issue. So when I was testing it, it looked fine. It was something to do with the amount of cars that you have at your destination. So I plugged in 500 cars and tested it, and I saw that it was going in the wrong order. And what it was is, as it was processing each car, one car might take longer to process than another one because there's more factors involved, and it would delay that one car, so it'd end up in a different spot on your consist. So I fixed that. Now it's going to wait for that car to be processed before it moves on to the next one. So now it will be correct all the time. So little things like that I can fix. But like you said, is when I find a fix, I can push that out to the live site, and you will get that fix instantly. You don't have to install anything or change anything. It will just happen. You might not even notice it.
Well, Dennis, in your situation, most of the time you're going to be operating by yourself. Even if the trains are going to be relatively short, just the nature of narrow gauge. So you're not going to have 40, 50 cars.
10 cars.
Yeah.
Maybe
so
12.
So if they're mixed up in your consist, that just gives you a little more to do at each location. Now you've got to figure out. It's kind of like the time saver was. You're going to have to do the puzzle switching to get to where you need to be and give you a little more to do. So it's not prototypical, I'm sure, but still.
So in my case, how I view that, for one, I don't really enjoy the drill process. Going in, dropping back, that back and forth to 3 or 4 different tracks, to me is my least favorite thing to do when it comes to operating. If I can pull a whole track, and then when I get to Maroon Creek, that's where the fun is. That's where, okay, I've before I ever left the yard, I know that I need to switch out my less than carload track first. Then I'm going to switch out the interchange track. Then I'm going to do Sperry cattle. Then I'm going to do either, depending on how I feel, Muckawonga, yada, yada, yada. There's a certain order that needs to take place, and it can be slightly different each time. And so that's where the fun begins, is when you get to the location and you've got a variety of different tracks to, like, how am I going to go ahead and pull? I could, in theory, pull everything first, set them out on the siding, then go in and push everything in. There's more than one way to do it. That's the fun, not the going back and forth and creating the train.
That's kind of what I was talking about, though. To me, that's the puzzle solving part of it is what would be fun with the operations.
There's no puzzle,
especially when you're not
Well,
especially when you're not doing a operation session with several people. When it's just you, and you have no time constraint really on how fast you got to get something done, then I can see that being actually an advantage. For me, it would be. I mean, that's where the fun and doing anything like that. Switching is the
Everybody has
puzzle-solving part of it.
their favorite
Yeah.
thing to do. Some people like doing yard switching. Other people detest it. You know, that's
I don't
the joy
detest
with
it. It's just not my favorite thing to do.
right. Yeah,
Yeah.
but some people
Especially
just won't do
if
it.
I'm
They just
doing
won't do
it at the end of a session.
Yeah.
You know, if I'm putting things up at the end of the session, I can be a lot more enthused about doing it if I'm building the train. If I'm pulling cars to create a train, that's a whole different thing. But putting them up at the end of a session is a little more, I guess this needs to be done.
Yeah. I mean, it's like housekeeping and things like that. The other thing you've got to take into account that, because you were talking about the order of cars that when it appears on your screen, is there's a thing called blocking. So like you said, when you turn up to a certain place, you know the order that you're going to be switching those cars in. Now, when you're at the classification yard, if someone's going to be nice to you, they would actually block that train.
They block them for you.
Yeah, so that your cars that you're about to, say you've got some trailing points, the cars that you're going to switch first are on the back of the train, so you don't have to do any maneuvers. You literally just back the train in, and you've got the car right there ready to go. Yeah, so you can do that as well. But like I say, because it's not in that order, it's only in the order of its destination. It's not going to be in your consist order at the moment. But it's definitely going to happen, because I've already arranged the database with that provision, so that when I release it, I knew that it was going to happen, because I know not a lot of people like switching like that. They like to have the cards in order. But like I say, that will probably only happen in a classification yard, because you don't need the cards in order as you're traveling up the line, because you're going to be pulling cars, and who knows where they're going to be, and you don't really need it in order on the screen when you're switching, because you just do your pickups, then you do your moves, then you do your set outs anyway. So you've got to find which ones you need to do. You need those in the order of your switching operations, not in your context.
So Dennis, when you do when you set up your classification or your staging track, like west staging, do you do that by hand?
My staging yard is not set up for any kind of classification. It holds an entire train. So I prefer not to, because I didn't really design. I can absolutely drill any number of ways I want to in the staging yard. I just prefer not to. Now, the far end, which there's actually two different locations. My west staging is just staging, doesn't really have a name per se. Then I've got a classification yard in the reverse loop area. Mm-hmm. That is where I classify. I think I've got 6 tracks. They're all dedicated to a specific location. So that when I leave Frying Pan, I can either go to west staging, and that's a straight through route, no stops, or I take the exact same track, go through Silver Gulch, Grand Junction, and come back through Silver Gulch and come back through Frying Pan. So there's actually 2 different locations on the same track, if that makes sense to anyone.
So I got a question for you, Dennis. Since you've used this system, you have a train. There's 10 cars on the train. It goes out to do its work. It leaves all the cars somewhere, and it only picks up 5 cars. Comes back, and now you got 5 cars. What do you do for your next session? Like, do you populate more cars to your layout, or from, like, I don't know, under your cabinet or something?
Say that again. When I come back with 5 cars?
Yeah. Like,
what do I do with those 5 cars?
No, you put them in your staging or whatever you want there. And now you generate another work day, right? Do you just go out with those 5 cars, or do you bring more cars over? You
look at the program, and the program is gonna put a green border around every car in that location that needs to be moved. And so now I can choose, if I want, I could completely ignore those 5 cars that I just brought in. I classify them, whatever. There should be a number of cars that have green borders that are ready to go from that location into the next. Yeah, you pull that up, Claude.
Running together here.
Yeah, like the yellow border there, that car's in the correct town, but it's not where it needs to go. So that's something that needs to take place. The next train that comes through there is going to move that to its specified spot.
Well, no, it's ordering you to do it if you can.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the green ones are the ones that are ready to go and need picking up. The yellow ones are currently at that destination, but they're not in their correct spot because obviously it was full up at the time. And the red ones are the ones that you're setting out. And if you can't set it out, there's another option to off spot here. Yeah.
And I love the off. When I first watched you talk about this on the Second Section podcast, I was like, "What's this off spot thing? I've never heard." And I was
our club never used to do off spotting, but yeah, it became quite a big thing with car cards and waybills to do off spotting. It simulates the real world kind of operation, but when I was speaking to Mike on the Second Section, he said you've got to be careful because some industries won't allow you to off spot. They don't have anywhere to put cars. Now, we don't have that at our club layout. If it's full up, you just leave it somewhere until it's ready to go in. But if you want to operate it prototypically, you wouldn't take that car with you. So when it comes to classifying your train in the classification yard, you would have to put that car not in that train that's going to go because it can't go anywhere yet. And we have that ability with the reports. If you look at this car here, it's got a report button. So this is going to Pine Hill barge loading. It's currently in the lumber yard at Rockwood here. But I can pull up the report and it will tell me if there's going to be space for it. So if there's not going to be space, I can actually leave it here or I can take it with me to the classification yard and leave it at the classification yard. So it gives you the opportunity to operate your layout how you want to operate it. So like this is instructing me to pick up this car, right? So I can pick this up. And if I know already that it's not going to fit, in this case, it is going to fit. There's going to be 80 foot of space left on this spot. But if it's not going to fit, when I get to the classification yard, the yard master will actually put that into a track to go out later when there is room to actually take it to its destination, if that makes sense. So what I think what you're getting confused with is when you arrive, like you say, with 5 cars in your consist, what do you do with those 5 cars? Well, what you would do is you would have a look at their waybills, because if a car's returning back to a yard, it's probably done its job and it comes back to the yard, and then the customer, in this case, like the scrap yard, wants you to pick up some scrap and take it off stage, right? So this is a customer order. So the car that has just returned with no orders, it's now done its job. It's come back to the yard. You can now go, right, we've got this customer order. We'll put that in that car. You can now go and fulfill that customer order. So this now goes in a train to go and pick up that scrap metal, right? So that's how you would do it on a physical car card system. But as I say, the system that I've designed does all of that for you completely automatically. So your 5 cars that you arrive with are going to be completely different to when you left with them, because they may have new waybills in. They may be assigned to just hold them in the yard or something like that. So yeah, you've got to get out of the thing of having sessions with car cards and waybills, because it continually evolves. It never starts and it never stops. Yeah. But anyway.
Yeah, it's so intuitive, and I come in, all I got to do is open my iPad, take a look at any one of my locations. Like the other night, the wife wasn't home yet, and I just took a look at Maroon Creek and said, I can move every car in Maroon Creek right now in probably about 45 minutes. And I did it, and now I've got cars that have now processed that in the next turn, I can move them to my siding and make a decision of whether they're going east or west, so that when I spot them into my siding, the ones going east will go to the left side, the ones going west will go to the right side, so that when the through train comes through, all they have to do is pick up what's there and drop off what's going. It's just so different than switch lists that it's really hard to explain. I'm sure anyone that's done car cards and waybills absolutely already knows. It's just a matter of whether or not they're happy with all of their physical stuff, and whether they would ever thought, if I have to rebuild my whole car cards and waybills because they're ratty and whatever, or I just want to readjust all of the waybills, you can do that at will anytime in the digital system, and it's completely painless.
You can also, like you say, you can drop them, and then we were actually using that as an example. It's like, how do you know that a car card's missing? Well, the fact is, on a physical system, you don't.
How do you prove it unknown?
I mean, that car will not be moved, so that can't happen with this because it's digital. It can't go missing. It's just, you'll have it. You can lose the car, but they will know it's missing because you've got the car card for it. And where's the car gone? So did I miss a question? I saw you pull one up earlier.
No. That was Mike McCarville being, well, he was being funny, but it made sense. If you live in the States and you know the United States Postal Service.
I know it. I know it very well.
Completely random delivery and pickup. That's very true.
I'm sure there was one before that, wasn't there? I missed it.
I don't know. Did I see one before? Did I do one for that?
Govia had a question. Where can you get the physical cards?
There's a couple of places. There's things that you can download. There's like an Excel spreadsheet, and you basically punch in all your card details, and then you can throw them through a printer and print them all. There's also a place that you can buy them from. I forgot the name now, but you can buy like a pack of cards, and then you write all your stuff on there, and off you go. Micromart, there you go. That's the one.
Yeah, Micromart.
Yeah, so they do the physical ones. I mean, if you're into that, then fine. As I say, it's great that they do that because then you save time having to build them, right? But you've still got to write them all out. You've still got to physically write them all out, and they do get tatty, so you'd have to rewrite them. If you want to try something, you have to print a whole load or create a whole load of waybills for you to try to see if it works. And you might want more, so you have to create some more, or you might want to scrap them, in which case you've just wasted your time doing that. Whereas my system, you can try something and you've wasted like 5 minutes creating a waybill. And if you don't like it, you can just delete it, or you can increase the amount of waybills, you can change them. And you can even do that during a session as well. So, if Dennis is halfway through switching something and he thinks, no, this isn't, something's wrong here, this isn't right, he can go into the waybill and change it instantly, and it will instantly change on the layout. You don't have to wait until he gets back to the yard or anything. It will change instantly. So.
Well, and I've seen people do the physical cards and actually take pictures of all their rolling stock.
Yeah.
And put those on the card. That takes a lot of time to do something like that.
It does.
But it takes a lot of time.
A future possibility?
Yep, that's already, that's in the works. So to have pictures of your own cars. At the moment, we've got icons. So it enables you to quickly see if it's a box car, if it's a gondola, if it's a tank car. There's just icons. But yeah, we're going to have those replaceable by your own images if you want.
That would be awesome.
That'd be cool, yeah. Because like I say, the physical ones that have the pictures on them look really good. But that takes a whole lot of time to do that.
You've got to set up your studio and take a picture of every single car.
So right now, JMRI most people use JMRI to do this stuff.
Yeah. JMRI is good in the fact that it can incorporate all your cars and where all your commodity movements and stuff like that. It's not an instant thing like I've created. I've used JMRI. It is extremely complicated. It's got a very high learning curve to get used to it. It can take months to get used to it. It is good for what it does, but it's not an instant thing like mine. So you can't, on mine, when you set something out, that then becomes available for someone else to pick up if it's an instant, pickup. Or if you're in the yard, for example, when you're setting out cars into a track, like I said earlier, is if there's another operator waiting to take that train out, they will see the cars being built and then they can pull them all out straight away. I don't think you can do that kind of thing with JMRI. It's more like a switch list kind of operation with JMRI. So you have a list of operations, and that won't be put into the database until you've completed that whole list of operations.
If you have someone monitoring JMRI as you operate, and you say, I've just completed my switch list at such and such location, you can terminate that train, or not terminate. Forget what the term is. You're not terminating, but you're moving to the next location. Those cars will become available, I believe, just as soon as you do that. But you do have to monitor it.
Yeah. What I mean by that, I should clarify, because yes, you can do that with JMRI. The thing is, you have to, like Dennis said, you have to have an operator to do that for you. My system does that automatically, instantly. Whereas if you've got a switch list, once you've done one part of it, you have to go into JMRI, say that you've completed that, and then maybe even print another switch list, etc., etc. So mine does that.
Throw Mike's question up there, Claude.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was looking for something else. This one?
Yep.
Will the app have an inventory page so you can view all your cars, but have an off layout location in case stuff is in display cases, storage, repair benches, etc.?
Okay. We already have a car inventory report. That was actually brought out last week, I believe. I brought that out. There isn't anywhere on the layout that is off stage as such, but you can design it in your map. You can actually put you can put some sidings. Hang on. In fact, I'll show you. That'd be easier.
I do the exact same thing in JMRI. I've got workbench and kind of an infinite amount of track that I can set out anything that is not actually being used.
Yeah. So, say for instance, I want to put like an offstage area here. What I can do is I can change that connector to one of those. And then here, I can put a yard. So I can call this storage. And then what I can do is, instead of processing it, I can put ignore processing of waybills. All right. So now this just becomes a storage yard. And you can just dump stuff in there as you want.
Go ahead and take us to the tracks section, Steve. Just kind of fill that whole thing out. Yeah.
Once you've created that, then you go into your tracks, and we should be able to find storage here. No processing. So now I can put track 1
or display case.
Track 2, display case, shelf 1, shelf 2. You can call it whatever you like. So now, etc., and you can do up to 10 of those. So now there is somewhere for you to put stuff. So now, if I actually went into my operations, say I want to take this train that I've currently got. Let me just go to my consist. So I've got all these cars in my train. So I want to dump those into the storage. I can literally just go straight to storage, and I can park my entire storage into whatever track I want, or I can go into and I can park an individual car into whatever track I want. So you can use that as a storage, and it will just sit there until you go pick it up, and no waybills will be touched. When you pull that out, it will be exactly the same as when it went in. Yeah.
So Jack had a question. How much does it cost?
Well, it's free. It's free. Let me go back to the camera. It's free to use if you want to try it out. Okay, and it will give you 3 locations. It will allow you to put 10 cars in there and 10 waybills. So at least you can just get used to setting it up and playing around with it. If you want to have, say, like 150 cars, it's $4.99 a month, and that gives you 6 cycle waybills. You can get, I think it's 150. Hang on, I can't remember exactly what I made it. Let me have a look. So yeah, it will give you 150 cars, 150 waybills. Now that's individual waybills. That's not the amount of waybills.
How many locations?
There's 10 locations.
Yeah, that's the version that I'm making use of. And again, I'll say it again. I'll say it every time we talk about it. If you add up all of the different, I think there's three different paid versions of the software. If you add all those up into one total, I spend more than that in a week on coffee. I probably spend more than that in 2 days on coffee.
No, it's a subscription because it's managed. It's all online. You can use it on any device as long as you've got an internet connection. But you can connect to it from. You don't have to be in your train room. You can connect to it when you're at work and you've got some free time. You can start punching in waybills and stuff, and it'll be ready. So because it's server based and managed, we also give tech support and all that kind of stuff. It is a subscription based. You don't have to install anything. You don't download anything. It's all browser based.
Yeah. You don't have to be tech savvy at all. You just have to be able to input things. And it's all very
timetables. We don't. That's more of we don't have timetables on that because it's not that kind of system. It's car cards and waybills. Sometimes you can incorporate car cards and waybills with a fast clock, but we don't have that on our system. You can do that separately. This just manages the inventory, the cars and the commodities and stuff like that. It doesn't take care of all your fast clock and everything like that. So it's not. I don't even think that will be something we really incorporate into it. I'm trying to think how many people actually incorporate a fast clock with car.
Yeah, that's a whole other level
kind of thing
that eventually I need to figure out, because I absolutely am going to make use of timetable and train order. It's just a matter of that. I've always kind of figured that would be something completely independent. It would just be a matter of, like in JMRI, you have a fast clock available in the software. That's really.
So Jack says this is basically a point-to-point system. I don't know about you, but I don't kind of understand that. I mean, I don't know what other system you would have, because commodities go from one point to another and the cars go back. So it's always a point to point. It doesn't matter what the layout looks like.
Well, not necessarily. Right. Say you've got an exhibition layout. Okay. You've got one location and then you go round a loop and then you go into a staging yard at the back. Right. You can set this up to do that as well. So if you're at an exhibition and you want to you want to do all your switching in your staging yard behind, you create your train and then you pull it out onto the stage at the exhibition. You can now switch those trains into the relevant places, and then you do your pickups, and then your train would exit stage right kind of thing back into the yard again. You can do it like that, yeah. So it doesn't have to be from one end of a layout to another, or from one end to a staging yard. You can actually do it as a loop as well.
Well, true, but it's still every railroad's a point to point.
Yeah.
You know, even if your model has a loop in it, you're still simulating a point to point.
Oh, I see what you mean. So a car goes from one point to another. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
You can do it so it loops.
Yeah, they don't put cars on there and then just keep going in a circle like we do with our layouts.
You can do it so it's a loop. And I think Dennis actually, when I noticed his demo, he's mistakenly done one with repeat. Now the repeat stays with that car forever. You'd use that on like a shuttle service.
Or train.
Yeah, an ore train. It's picking up coal, or and then dropping it off to a place on the other end of the line, and then all it's going to do is turn around and go back and do exactly the same thing. So there's no point surrendering that waybill. You just put it on repeat, and it will stay with that car forever until you remove it. Yeah, and it will just go back and forth and back and forth. Yeah.
Throw Mark's question
It's
up there real quick.
based in the fact that there is a free version and a paid version.
Yeah.
So
Let me
subscription.
Let me throw my 2 cents on this right now, because here's a good example. When I first got the subscription, I was immediately, I'll say, skeptical of the idea that it was a subscription based. I was like, I like to own things. Totally understand. But since I started making use of it, he has created several different updates and pushes that makes it better every time he does. If I had purchased the software outright, I would have to update the software, maybe download it, and in some cases you might have to, because as an audio technician and working with Pro Tools over a decade ago, Pro Tools 4 comes out, you have to purchase Pro Tools 5, now we're at 11, now we're at subscription based, right? There is no such thing as owning software anymore for this kind of thing.
No.
I think that's just the reality.
Yep.
I'm glad that I don't have to purchase this software at the price point that it's at right now. This is great. Again, aside from the $5.99, I'm going to spend hundreds of dollars more on my railroad every month, well beyond $5 to operate it. So that's how I rationalize it. We're all going to be a little bit different, but to me, it's an easy decision to spend $5 a month on my railroad.
Well, we were talking about
this way.
We were talking about Micromart earlier, about you having to buy the waybills. That stack of waybills costs the same as a month subscription for my stuff. That's one stack. That doesn't include the car cards. That doesn't include your time of printing them out, your printering, all that kind of stuff, having to recreate them. You have to buy them again. You have to make the boxes on the side of your layout out of plywood, and everyone knows how expensive plywood is these days. It's priced to be about the same, if not cheaper, than building your own system. And like you say, if it is software, you download software, you then have to have a system that can handle that software. You have to support that system yourself. If you have a CPU failure right before your operating session, what are you going to do? Have you backed your database up? Are you going to be able to restore that on another machine before your people turn up to do some switching? All these.
That's what happened to me with Pro Tools.
Right. So, the fact that it's cloud is, if your device blows up, you just grab another device. That's it.
I'll say this just as quickly as I can. The whole reason I got out of audio is because I spent literally thousands of dollars on physical equipment and had software on a computer. The computer blew up. The next computer I got, I could not interface with the previous version, and then the new computer I had could not interface with any of the hardware that I had. And I was like, I'm done. Literally, I've got thousands of dollars of physical equipment that will not, at least not easily, interface with the new computer. And it's just a sign of the times that unfortunately we will have to own nothing and be happy.
There's actually a few questions that I've missed.
Well, see, you can see what Floyd's saying here. He says, I don't see the fun in running.
Not running my train.
Yeah, but he's talking about, I think he's referring to a train being.
He's referring to what Harley said, and Harley
Harley's
saying run around the track is fun part of model railroading. And I agree with you there, Harley, but that's not what this does.
No.
The
This
computer doesn't
actually
run your train. This
enables
is taking the place of car cards. Is all it's
yeah.
doing.
This actually, if anything, it backs that up, because this allows you more to drive your train and not have to think about what cards am I having to turn around, what pocket do I have to put them in, where did I leave them? I left them on the other side of the layout. Where were they? Has anyone seen my cards? You know, it takes
Yeah.
all that stress away, and you can actually enjoy driving your train and switching your cars.
Yeah.
That's the whole point of doing this.
And another thing I'll say about the, driving your trains.
Hey,
don't know if
stop. You don't drive your train, you operate your train, okay? You drive your car.
when you see it run behind me during the show, top and bottom, I'm just running the train. I'm not operating.
Blowing the cobwebs off.
This is, to me, it's completely two completely separate ideas. Yeah. I can run my train as a rail fan anytime I want. The only thing is I might want to make sure that I put the cars back in the same location so that the computer and the physical location is the same place. But that's super simple. Or I could park that consist anywhere else on the railroad I want. So running and operating are two different things that, in my opinion, you don't have to choose one over the other.
Yeah, if you're a person that doesn't operate at all and just turns them on and lets them run, you don't need this. It's not going to make any difference to you.
But in my opinion, if you actually do go ahead and do it, you might find out that you really like it.
Yeah,
you might.
Yeah. Well, Michael's got a question. It says, how does LCL cars move? Is there chain locations that can be strung together?
Pull up a waybill, Steve, and show us. I'm sure you've got one.
Yeah. So this is one waybill that I've currently got 5 instructions on. So you can set this up however you like. This particular one is going to a food processing warehouse empty, and it's picking up general trash. So it's an LCL gondola load from the workshops. It then goes from there to the farm general track. It picks up more trash. It then goes to the team track at Horseshoe Falls. It picks up more trash. It goes to Pine Hill, grab loader with the trash, and that's where it empties. And then once that's complete, because there's no more instructions, that gondola will then be available for more jobs. If you've got yard mode switched on, then that gondola will be sent back to its classification yard to be assigned with a new job. And I can even add another one to this. I can actually send it back to High Creek Yard, back to the workshops empty, and I can then put a actually my camera's in the way, give me a sec here. Yeah, I can actually send it back to the yard to be cleaned. So you can do that, and then I can set that to be a very long turnaround, so it will sit there being cleaned for a long time. Once it's cleaned, it will then pop back up into your inventory and be back on the track again. So you can actually do up to 6 instructions per waybill. Yeah. So you can do less than carloads, and the commodities that are on there, you can set your own commodities. So you can actually make all your own weird and wonderful commodities, whatever you want. As you see on here, I've got one that says hunting supplies, and that's for this lot. That's for the venison and wild boar that come out of the woods, you know. So you can do whatever you want with it. You can create your own commodities. You can create up to 6 cycles, and you
That's
can.
A pretty good question Floyd Robbins has. So if you have a big layout and you have a lot of operators, each one needs some device.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who doesn't have a phone with them?
How does you would enable everybody to log in to your account and see what to do, right?
No, they create their own account.
Oh, okay.
And it's free to do that. So if you have operators come to your layout, they would have to create an account because that's part of the security of the system. And then you have to allow them to operate on your layout, which you can do completely for free. Okay.
Right.
So they will then be able to access your layout and operate on your layout.
Right.
And then once they leave, you can actually do this. If I go to my sessions, So these are my sessions. So you're doing a main running session here. And then all I do is once you've finished, you turn it off, you update. And then everybody that was currently operating your layout will get booted out and they can't mess your system up. And that's it. You're back in.
That I do want to explore that a little bit with you, Steve.
Yeah.
So if me as the owner of the layout and the operating session, let's say I want to go ahead and purchase 5 fire tablets so that I've got a fire tablet at every location.
Yeah.
And now if I host a session with 5 people and they come in and I don't want to have to say I get somebody I've never met before, don't know him from Adam. I don't want them to have to go through the process of creating an account. I just want them to experience operating my layout. Can I have 5 user specific just to me? In other words, I've created additional logins for the Otter Creek and Rio Grande. You know, like, in other words, I would say maybe the login name is Frying Pan, Maroon Creek, that fall directly to the specific to the location. Yeah. So that if you get the job of working Frying Pan that day, the tablet's already logged in, completely associated with me, not somebody else. Is that something that you could see taking place in the future? I think
you can do that now. You can do that now. You can just create as many accounts as you want for free, and then you just assign them to your operating session.
Okay, so then that helps. Hopefully, that will help a few people.
Yeah,
you know, because eventually I probably will get 5 fire tablets just for this. Yeah, I foresee that as a thing.
You wouldn't need to. You just give someone a tablet so they can take it with them. But like you say, if they're just going to operate that,
if I have 5 operators, I would need 5 tablets, just like what Floyd said.
Yeah.
Or they can bring their own.
By the way, someone said you need a layout to use this. It's kind of a funny question because I'm still building my layout. I don't actually have any track down, and I still have fun with this. Just imagining, you know, like I say, if I go from here and I go to Rockwood Sub, I can actually switch. You know, I'm going to go and I'm going to go to the lumberyard and I'm going to pick this 410. I'm going to pick that up. You can actually operate without a layout technically, but you know, half of the fun is running a train, right? Is operating a train. So, but you can do this without a layout, of course.
Floyd, I put my tablet on. I got a mic stand that I put mine on. You know, and I think the how you handle the physical aspects of the layout with fire tablets and whatnot. You know, I could envision having a short length. I know I'm really small in the top right hand corner there, but like a short length of PVC pipe, and then a way to hook your fire tablet to that, because they've all got some kind of carriers that you can purchase from somewhere, and then you could literally pick that up, take it to the next location, set it in a pre-designated spot there, have your hands completely free, and you know there's always a workaround to any kind of challenges that come with it. I face no challenges with my iPad when I operate.
See, I would envision a a holder similar to a throttle holder that you could slide it in, and maybe at each location has its own charger, so you can charge it every time when you're not using it, or just leave it hooked to the charger.
I mean, you don't have to log in every time. All you do is turn it on. And
there's all kinds of ways to do that. I can see.
On your screen.
I don't think I've logged in one time since I started. I even bounce back and forth between devices. As long as your device goes to sleep at the lake, I can open up my laptop and and see what next job I want to run.
Yeah.
The system's not going to be for everyone.
So that's it on my phone.
That's fine. It really is.
Yeah. So if I now turn my phone off and I do my switching, when I come back, I open the phone and it's the exact same place. Now, here's the other thing: is because I'm using the same account as on my computer. When I turn my phone off, log into my computer, it will be in the same position that my phone was in. It will pick up from that session, from one device to another. Yeah. So you don't even have to do that, which is why you will need different accounts for different operators.
So here's the thing, right? It doesn't cost anything to try out.
No.
Try it out. You don't like it, you don't use it. I mean, it's not like you spent money and now you're like, oh, geez, I gotta figure it out. I gotta use it.
I mean, someone said they're not comfortable with giving their email address or something. They're not comfortable with registering to trying something out, and I get that, but I'm not in the business of selling information. In fact, it's in my documentation. I'm legally required to secure that information and not sell it. It's actually more strict in the UK. We come under a GDPR scheme, so I'm not allowed to do that, and I'm in no interest in doing that. And the email address there is for security. So if you wanted to access your account, the only way you could do that, if you got locked out of your account, for example, you could email us, and it has to be from the email address that you registered with, and that gives us security to actually unlock your account for you if something happened to it. But it like I say, it gives you that security as well.
So your website is trainwaybills.com, right?
Yeah, correct.
Yeah, just like he's got his name tag there.
Dennis, go look at Dennis's video. He did a great demo of it, and I didn't ask him to do that. He just did that on his own back, and I've given Dennis very little instruction. He's actually asked very few questions. He's just gone out and tried it and done it. So he did a really good job in getting used to it. So
who is this?
Dennis.
Me.
Oh, Dennis.
Great video.
We don't watch that.
Not sponsored whatsoever.
We don't watch that
whatsoever. I saw it on the Second Section podcast and thought, I have always wanted to try car cards and waybills. The only reason I hadn't so far is just all of the effort that it takes to print them, yada, yada, yada. I thought there's no better way to try a car card waybill system than to do it digitally. Yeah. And if I like it, but I don't like the system, then I at least know that I like the car cards and waybills.
That's kind of what
I was pleasantly surprised with how, in my opinion, fantastic the system is. I don't foresee me doing anything different in the future.
Yeah, there's a lot of people that
wait for
refuse
the
to give up
to make it even better than it is now.
Yeah, there are people that refuse to give up switchless, and I don't understand that, because when you try car cards and waybills and you see it's more of an instant gratification, it's not. To me, I've done switchless myself, and I've never wanted to go from car cards to switchless. I don't. You've got a sheet of paper with all your instructions on it. That's it. To me, you already know what's going to happen down the line. This, I don't know what's going to happen on the next place I go to. I might even get a hot box and I have to bring that back.
True story, Mike. Thank you.
McCarville. I think McCarville drinks on Saturday mornings.
This is for the operator. This is for people who enjoy operating.
Yeah.
And want something to do. They want some interest in their operations. They don't just want to be driving from one place to another. They want something to do.
Oh, and the great thing is you made the free version. It's smaller, but it gives you enough that you can find out if you like it or not. If you don't like it, you don't get you don't do it.
Yeah.
But if you like it,
so
you
real quick,
that it's worth a lot more than that to you.
Yeah. Real quick, Jack has a question, and then we're done with questions.
Here we go. Yep. Can be incorporated in the JMI. You got 30 seconds.
No.
Okay. You got a little more time than that.
It's not something that I found a requirement to do.
Why would you?
Here's what I'll say.
Yes.
I really like JMRI's capacity with car card, or not with the inventory aspect of JMRI. You can expand that to a Excel spreadsheet, I believe. So I will, every time I buy a new car, I will probably still inventory it in JMRI just for that capacity. At some point, I don't know if Steve's system right now can export into Excel. I expect in the future it will.
Does it right now?
So
It does it already.
There's my car inventory. It tells you what car they are, the number, where they are, what current condition they're in. And if you scroll all the way down to the bottom, you can print it. Now, when you press print, you can actually print it to a PDF and then save that if you want, or you can print it on physical paper.
Can you export it into Excel?
Not at this moment.
Then
No.
I can sort it any way I want. Right
Not
now,
at this moment.
because right now they're all sorted by number. Is there a way to sort by any of the different rows?
At the moment, it's just number.
Location.
But this was only put in last week, so we can adapt it. If you want it to be by railroad, if you want it to be by type, I can add that to the system. It's not hard.
One of the things that I often did in JMRI is sort by any different means. You know, you can sort by whatever for whatever purpose you might need to do it now. So that would be something really cool, is just the ability to choose how you sort and not always be limited just by car number. I might want to see what is every car I have in frying pan right now. And then that populates the very top.
Right. But then you wouldn't use a car report. You would use the industry report.
We're over time, guys.
All right, everybody.
It goes by fast. Yeah, it goes by fast.
Gotcha.
Thanks, everybody, for being here this week. And Steve, thanks for coming on again.
No, thanks for hosting me. I appreciate it.
And Jerry and Dennis, we'll see you down the road before long, I'm sure.
I got to get back.
We'll be back next week. Do what?
So I got to get back out to the lake.
Oh, okay. Yeah, get back out the lake and keep Mama happy.
Yep.
And everybody in chat, have a good rest of your weekend and a good week, and we'll see you next week.
See you
later.
Yep.